Hi, it's Ruth Kudzi, founder of Optimus Coach Academy and Ruth Kudzi Coaching Limited. I am passionate about helping people live the lives they want to live on their terms through supporting people to train and develop as coaches and supporting people in my coaching business to build and grow their businesses. Hello, I'm really delighted to have Lulu Little with us today. So Lulu is currently on the Optimus Professional Coaching Diploma, soon to graduate, and she's going to be talking a little bit about her experience, but also about the importance of presence and curiosity as a coach. So I'm going to get Lulu, or Dr. Lulu, as I should say, to introduce herself and tell us a little bit more about her.
Thanks, Ruth, and thank you for having me today. Yeah, so I am a doctor, I work in emergency medicine at the moment, and I first came across coaching myself about 2 years ago. When I had it myself, I was feeling really stuck, quite lost, wanted to make some changes in my life, didn't really know where to start. My mum, who is a coach herself and a doctor, so she was the one who suggested to me at first, like, you should probably have some coaching, and I did. And it gave me a lot of confidence, it gave me clarity, I made the changes I wanted to make in my life, and I thought, this is amazing. Like, I'd love to learn how to do this for other people. So it then sort of led me to realise, what's the part of medicine that I actually enjoy? And I thought, it's the people, it's their stories, it's why they are the way they are. And I thought, I think I want to retrain. So I did initially a course, and then I came across your diploma. It's the best investment I've made, and now here I am about to graduate. So yeah.
And I love the fact that your mum is also a coach.
Yeah, she's a coach, and it's so funny because for years when I was a lot younger, I just didn't really understand what it was, and it was only when I then came to needing it or wanting it myself that I understood the impact that it can have.
Yeah, because she's just your mum.
Exactly. I was like,
sorry, Lulu's mum.
Sorry, thank you. She is a big inspiration for me, so she knows that.
Yeah, but also the fact that she said when she saw that you needed it, she was able to say, this is the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I like the fact that you said I looked at what I actually liked about medicine, and it was about the people. So and this really leads into that presence and curiosity, and I know that we're kind of linking those. But as a doctor, how is that presence and curiosity? How do you use that with patients?
Yeah, I guess I realise a lot of the things overlapping. They're very different in ways, and obviously coaching is much more about the psychology and the long-lasting change. But you have to be, when you're listening to someone who comes into A&E, present. You have to be curious. You have to reflect back to them using their words. You don't sort of interpret it and say what you say. There is the part that's different about you give advice as a doctor, which you don't do as a coach. But mainly, it's about reflecting, listening, being curious, and being present with that person.
And it must be a little bit, and again, this is my perception, so I'm going to be curious around this. It must be a little bit less stressful having a coaching conversation than speaking to somebody coming into A&E.
Yes, I guess. I never thought about it, but yes, in the sense that they're not really acutely unwell. So
yes.
there's that differentiating factor. But then it's so funny because I've found since I've been training, there are patients who are well in themselves and may only need a little bit of support, and they can go home on the day, so they don't need to be admitted to hospital. And in those conversations, I can use what I've learned training as a coach in terms of being present, really listening, not just regurgitating back or parroting back words to them, but listening to the meaning of what they're saying and what their real struggle is underneath. And using sort of coaching questions to, I guess it is empowering them to make the change that they want to make in their life, or at least start to, in a time where, as you can imagine in A&E, it is the time of maybe a big change or a big challenge in someone's life as well. So that's kind of a similar setting.
Yeah. And I love that you're using those skills there, because when you're talking about listening, so you're saying it's not just regurgitating the words, let's go there. Like, what would you say is really deep listening?
Yeah, what I would say is deep listening is removing any motive you have or any sort of desire you want or any sort of sense of wanting to lead someone, and just being totally present, open, flexible to what they're saying and being led by them. I'd say that often before I trained as a coach, I thought I was a good listener. I really did, and I'll be totally honest about this. I thought I'm a really good listener, and when in fact I just realised I was like a lot of the time queuing to talk. That's how I'd phrase it. Like, I was kind of nodding my head, being like, okay, my opinion is, versus truly listening for me is just being present and open and flexible with that person, hearing the meaning of what they say underneath. So often people will say flippant comments, like, oh, but I don't really deserve that. And sort of picking up on that and being curious about that, that's what truly listening is to me.
Yeah, that queuing to talk. I mean, we're laughing because we probably have all been there. So yeah, looking at the meaning beneath and understanding that sometimes that flippant comment, that might be from the unconscious, that might actually be that little seed that is there to explore. And it's about that energy as well, isn't it? And their emotions, because you can see, sometimes people, they pause, or their tone changes, or their body language changes, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's another similarity and also important point, I guess, which is that coaching conversations can have emotions and deep emotions that crop up. I think often people think it's about forwards and action and change, which of course it is.
Yeah.
But you've got to allow space, like I do as a doctor, you allow space for those deeper emotions to come up, and there's sort of that overlap, which I know I've mentioned to you before. There's an overlap of the sort of therapy setting, which is looking into the past and sort of delving much deeper into those past experiences and emotions. But it doesn't mean that in coaching you can't hold space for those emotions and you can't explore them and what's going on.
Yeah, and I think I love the way that you've distinguished it. Like, therapy is going into them, but you can still hold space and explore them.
Yeah, I totally think that. Because I think maybe people think of coaching as in, oh, I can't bring that up, or I can't really explain what's going on. But I know when I had coaching, I brought up plenty of deep emotional things that we were able to even just build awareness about through holding space for that person. And it's about you as a coach. Like, there's a story I'm thinking of here where, if you don't mind, I'll share.
No, I'm really curious. I'm like, yeah, go for it.
Great. So I remember my mum taught me. So the first thing was, there's a story which is, there was a doctor who taught us about communication skills in med school, and he was like, you never learn anything by talking, and often if you listen and truly listen, not queuing to talk, if you truly listen, people will tell you everything you need to know. And I think so that's the first thing. The second story I'm thinking of is my mum taught me that when she was a junior doctor, she made the mistake of being too emotionally invested in a patient's story. So they sort of shared with her as a really sad story. They were coming to the end of their life and they were quite young. And mum was thinking she was being really empathic, but really she got very emotionally invested, and they asked to have another doctor, not because they didn't like her, but because they needed her to hold that space for them and be strong in terms of, for them to feel safe and trust her enough to let their emotions show versus also take hers on as well. And I think that's another important role as a coach, is to be able to hold that space, the emotions, and not sort of reflect your own emotions in that space.
100%, yeah, because it's not about you, is it? Yeah. So when somebody is like, and I can imagine, like, your mum's a junior doctor, like, it's pretty tough, and I'm sure that we can all probably empathise with getting into someone's story and feeling that emotion, but we know that often, like, our emotion and their emotion mixed together it just makes it bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's so important that we have to separate ourselves from them, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And exactly as you say there, to allow them, because often if you feel someone else's emotion come in, you can feel, oh, I can't really like let out how I'm truly feeling because I've got to take theirs on as well. And something I'm also thinking of is it's the book that you sent us, The Time to Think, the Nancy Klein, it's the quote about attention, and it's something like, I might get this wrong, but it's like the quality of our attention determines the quality of someone else's thinking. And I think that's a huge thing with presence and emotion, is like, because the quality of how well you're listening and how well you're holding space will determine, or has a big factor in determining the quality of their thinking as well.
Yeah, because it's like you're thinking without that noise around it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the thinking without, it's so rare, and this is, I guess, another overlap with doctoring. You realise it's so rare for people to have someone sit there and listen and hold a space for them to reflect through what is going on in their subconscious every day. People sit alone with their thoughts and they don't have that person or that space, and you don't realise the true value of that until you experience something like coaching yourself, and you realise what an impact it can have.
And on that point, sometimes people say to me, well, I don't need a coach, or I don't need to train as a coach, because like I'm a really good listener, which I think a lot of us think that we are when we're not. I'm a really good listener, and like I can speak to my friends, and the thing is that your friends love you, so there's always going to be an agenda, isn't there?
Yeah, there's always going to be something underneath or a motive, and they often won't realise.
Yeah,
it will be like our loved ones or our family, they'll want us to be okay or safe, so they may not want us to take the riskiest option or the biggest leap or things like that because of their own motives and care and love, as we've said, about us. But having that coach, it's a professional to hold that space for you, and it's much more about listening to and encouraging your own resourcefulness. So it's not about suggestions, it's not about advice, which I think a lot of people think it is. It's actually empowering you to make the decisions that you know underneath, deep down, you need to make. But sometimes throughout life we have sort of different masks and different layers going on that we're unable to identify those without that coaching space.
Yeah, and sometimes it's you have that conversation with someone, don't you? Like you've been coached, and you'll start to be uncovering like all of these things, and it's sometimes in sessions you might be like, oh, okay, that's going on, or sometimes it's after sessions when you're reflecting that you're like, oh, right.
Yeah, and sometimes sessions, like you'll feel a lot of resistance crop up, and during the session you're like, oh, this isn't helpful, like blah blah blah, thinking to yourself, and then afterwards you get this realization of like, I get it, I'm just like resisting the change because it would mean that. But as you're saying, yeah, you make realizations afterwards.
Oh my gosh, I remember having coaches where I'd be like, the look on my face, like in the sessions, I'm like, I don't want to go there. Like, why are you making me go there? Why are you making me do this? It's really hard. And I think that's the thing as well, actually, that hardness that when you come into coaching, and I'm not sure if this will resonate with you, that you think it's really like, as a coach, you have to do all this work, but then you realise it's not the coach that's doing the work.
Yeah. It's totally, and it's really liberating when you start to really let go of the outcome, and you're just like, my job is to hold the space for them, to keep to the times, to help them think through facilitate their thought process. But it's not up to me to get to the goal, and I certainly don't want to force someone to go somewhere where they may not even be ready. They may have an overall goal, but it may take a few sessions to really move forward through that goal, because as you uncover things, there's lots of things underneath as well which are important to explore.
Yeah, and sometimes the goal is not even the goal.
Yeah, I've had that as well, where I think I have a goal and then I come out the other end of the session and I think, oh, the goal wasn't that at all. So yeah, it changes, and it's about, as the coach, being open and flexible to that. And that's what I think about being present is as a coach, because you're being open to being guided by them, so you don't have an agenda, but being flexible to the fact that it might change, or you may not get their exactly desired goal at the end of the session, but what's important is you've moved them forwards in some way, or they've built awareness, or whatever the goal may be.
I love the fact that you keep using that word flexible. Like, that sounds like a really strong word for you. And the other thing there, I think, that I'm going to pick up on is that idea that you're partnering with them, you're alongside them, but actually success is not necessarily ticking off the goal. And I think that so many coaches, and especially new coaches, become obsessed with, well, to be successful, all of my clients need to have met their goal at the end of the session.
Yeah, totally. And I think I definitely was like that when I first started, like over a year ago. I was like, oh, I think I attached my sort of worth as a coach to the outcome of the session. And now I kind of look at it as everything we've talked about is about, I've been a good coach if I've held that space for someone, I've allowed them to lead, I've facilitated their thought process, and in some way moved them forwards towards where they want to be. But I've been guided by them, and I've been open to and flexible about the whole process. I think that's much more of a better, for me, measure of success of a session.
And it's always about what they feel as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. I guess, yeah. That's the other thing I should add there, is that's how I feel, but actually sometimes you can deliver a coaching session, or I don't say deliver, like you can go through a coaching process with someone and think, oh, I don't know if that was that helpful, but they'll say, God, that was really helpful, like thank you so much, that really helped me feel a lot clearer about that. And that is the biggest measure of success of all of it, because if they think that, then that's the whole point.
Exactly. It doesn't actually, and that's one of the weird things about being a coach, is that you've obviously been very successful as a doctor, gone through all of that, and that's all about like you doing things and you giving advice and you having knowledge. And in a way, it's like a completely different way of being, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Do we have time if I can share a story?
Yeah, of course, we always do.
Great, thanks. There's the first time I went on this initial training course with ILM, and this is before I did the diploma, and we did an exercise about giving advice. And again, I thought I was a really good listener. I thought all about this. And they said, right, you've got 60 seconds. This person's going to bring a topic, and you're just going to give advice 60 seconds and see what happens. And the person that I had was like really, they called themselves, they were like, I'm a hoarder, I hoard everything. And I'm like the opposite, I'm Monica.
Yeah, we've had that before.
I'm Monica. So I was like, this is amazing, I'm going to transform their life. Like, I'm literally, and they said, okay, so you got 60 seconds, and I just unleashed. I was like, so you need to get rid of this, if you've not thought about it in a year, get rid of it, like all these things. And at the end of the 60 seconds, like she just stared at me, and I thought she's going to say, thank you so much. And she just looked at me and went, you are so brutal. And I thought, what? And then she kind of laughed at it. She was like, I could not do that. Oh my God, that is so unapplicable to me and my life and where I'm at. And that was so powerful for me, because I just suddenly realised, oh my God, advice just is not useful, because it's applicable to what I want and what I would like to do. And for her, she found it terrifying, the idea of doing what I was saying. And that was such a learning point for me.
I absolutely love that. So you're like, and this is the thing that often people might say stuff to us, and we're like, I'm laughing because my friend, we were talking about growing vegetables before, then my friend said, oh, I've been given potatoes and onions, and she said, what do I do with them? And I said, oh, you can make them into a soup. And she went, no, to plant them. And I'm like, oh, okay. Again, I'm giving advice. I hadn't listened properly. She was talking about, I don't even know, is it seeds or tumours or whatever they are? But, often we just go through life with our frame of reference. Well, I know, if you're a hoarder, I know what to do. But obviously, unless we are able to see it from somebody else's perspective and know what's going on in their head, it's never going to be relevant, is it?
Yeah, completely. And now I look at it what would have been a much better way to approach that? Obviously, the point of the exercise was to show you how advice is not helpful as you think it is. But the point being, would be to explore underneath why she feels the need to hold on to all these things and how it serves her and all the sort of coaching questions. And then you look at that and you think, God, that would have been much more impactful than like just spieling at her for 60 seconds about getting rid of everything in a Monica fashion.
I am visualising and imagining like that conversation and Lulu like,
yeah,
really wow.
Yeah, I literally thought, I've sorted her life out. That's perfect.
Well, we know if anyone does want some hoarding advice, we know where to go.
Yeah, not in the coaching capacity.
Not in a coaching capacity, that's giving straight advice.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting is you've talked about like how you're using your skill. Well, first of all, how you found coaching. I think lots of people will be able to resonate with that they decided to train as a coach because they saw the power of it.
Yeah, it's the experiencing it yourself and understanding, okay, over a long period of time, I want to make long-lasting change in my life. And people think, I don't, as you say before, I don't need a coach. And maybe you feel that way, and that's totally up to you. We're not here to like force anyone to have it. It's just to be honest about the impact it can have and how much further you can go with a coach and the long-lasting change, because we can all make change. But I think what coaching really enables you to do is that deep, long-lasting change that can really pivot things in your life.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like that sustainable change, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, it's very easy. But also, often, like, I say it's very easy to make change, but often, like, we'll make change for a short period of time and then we go back, don't we?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's back and forward. So you have that change, and then you're also talking about how coaching is not only helping you in your role now, but also it's about using those skills that you already had too.
Yeah, totally. And I think, like, going back to what you're saying there about how, well, I guess with the long-lasting change as well, it's all about changing someone's identity and how they see themselves. And I think that has a huge role in coaching, because we can all make changes to our lives, but actually if we don't change how we either see ourselves or deep-rooted beliefs that we might hold about ourselves, and if we don't explore those, we revert back. Our brains revert back to those patterns that we've done and subconsciously done all our lives, and that's what coaching really helps with as well.
And then you've talked as well about some great stories and some great examples and the importance of presence and listening and what listening really is, and it's not cueing and it's not giving advice. I'd love to go to a little bit more about you and where you're going with coaching, because you're coming to the end of the diploma.
Yeah.
I know you're starting to having discovery calls. Where do you see you taking coaching long term?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to you before I started the diploma, and it's like I said to you, I can't believe that you can make a living from doing something that energizes you and that I enjoy so much. Like, that to me, there are elements of doctoring, as we've discussed, that I really enjoy and that I really sort of appreciate. But it's the coaching side of things, the thing that really energizes me, because it's all the parts of medicine that I like, it's the people, but it's going deeper and it's a lot more based in psychology. So I hope to like pivot my career. That's really what this is about, and why I've chosen to do the diploma and why I've chosen to be accredited and, you know, do all the assessments and things, because I believe in that. I believe in that process. I think it's important to have that process. As we know, it's such an unregulated industry.
It is.
So yeah, I'm grateful to you and to all the people on your diploma and our group as well. We have such a supportive, amazing group. It's really been, such a great experience. So thank you.
Well, thank you, because I mean, the diploma is the people on it as well, and I'm just really grateful for having you on the diploma. Where can people find you if they want to find out a little bit more about Lulu?
Yeah, so I'm putting my website up at the moment. So it'll be drlululittle, all one word.com, and same Instagram, drlululittle, all one word as well.
And that will all be in the show notes as well. So thank you so much, Lulu. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. If you are also interested in training as a coach, or if you're curious about coaching is for you, we've got a special quiz for you that you can see in the show notes, or you can come and check us out at optimuscoachacademy.com. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd like you to like and subscribe. And remember to keep abreast of all of our new videos. Just ring that bell and you'll be notified when any new ones come out. And we'd love to hear feedback from you. So if you'd like to post beneath your biggest takeaway, and equally anything that you'd like to hear me talk about, we're always open to feedback.